Hey everyone, Kareem right here. Today we have Mike Garrett, who is a serial entrepreneur within the indoor soccer facility development and management of 24 locations, real estate development, and soccer investments in all levels. Mike, thank you for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me. Looking forward to talking to you.
Absolutely. So can we just go back, take us back in time to the beginning of how you got involved in the beautiful game?
When I was just a little kid in the Washington D.C. area, my mom came to me one day and said, "Hey, I'm signing you up for soccer." And I was actually very lucky that for a soccer person back in the late '60s. Now this is a long time ago to be where I was because Northern Virginia and the Washington D.C. area was a early hotbed for soccer, like New Jersey, New York, St. Louis. Obviously, is always considered like one of the first soccer hotbeds, which is true. Um, and I played soccer in McLean, Virginia, in McLean Youth, and then I was on a men's team by 16. I had some great stories about playing in the Northern Virginia League and all the ethnic teams and battles and stuff that went on there. And I went to McLean High School, which was a soccer power kind of a lot of great players at McLean, and so that's was my sort of upbringing in the game. Um, I ended up playing in the pros and coaching and stuff. But my first, well, a lot of people think that like the newcomers think that MLS is like, the soccer history in the U.S. But I was like 8 or 9 years old, and my dad and my mom and dad started taking me to Washington darts games. Lincoln Phillips was the goalkeeper. I don't know if you've heard of Lincoln Phillips, famous kind of I first African American pro coach and goalkeepers from Trinidad. And so I used to go to those games. John Kerr played in Canada for a while too, and he played for that team. And so I kind of connected with actually soccer at a higher level, pro soccer as it was at the time, and it gave me the chance to dream about at some point as I got older playing at a higher level.
Amazing. I mean, it's
Yeah.
pretty interesting, when I hear Americans say, they play soccer because soccer is not um, the top sport in the US yet, right? Um, but it's just so interesting because hockey's up. I mean, sorry, you got football up there, basketball, hockey, and baseball, and then soccer comes after that. Do you still have that? Just a little quick point. Do you still have that love for soccer, or is there another sport that's above soccer for you?
So it's listen, I'm a like you pointed out in the U.S. I grew up playing. I was an athlete, and we didn't have smartphones and the internet and stuff in the '70s and '60s, and so I grew up playing soccer. I played some baseball. I played basketball. We played football in the street and in the backyard. I had a hoop in my yard. We played basketball. We just played. We were active with sports all the time, and but I gravitated. I played some basketball in high school too, but I ended up gravitating to soccer. And my perspective, going back to like the sports ranking in the U.S., is that soccer's crushing the other sports in a lot of ways at the participation level, and it's really growing at the pro levels. You and I, can talk about. But yeah, it's been for a lot of years in certain areas of the country. Soccer has been like a dominant participation sport beyond baseball and basketball and football with youth sports anyway. So it's already been doing that for many years.
Wow. What inspired you to become a serial entrepreneur in the indoor soccer facility development and management industry?
Okay, so it is without being too long on the story. So I played pro soccer and coached pro soccer back in the '80s, and indoor soccer was the thing. I mean, it was big time for a while in the early '80s, and we got paid well, and it was just major cities, major arenas, but it still wasn't established enough or successful enough for all these teams to stay in business. So teams kept going out of business. And then I played and coached in the second, what was at that time considered the second division, in Toledo, Ohio, and Kalamazoo, Michigan. And I really liked Kalamazoo, actually. And I was kind of thinking like, I've been doing this for a number of years now, and every team I play for goes out of business. And so I was like, the way to make money at this game and really to support the growth of the game is maybe not by playing. It's to provide facilities and coaching or equipment because millions of people are playing soccer. And so I saw an opportunity, and I was able to get some business partners in Kalamazoo, Michigan to open the first facility. I had some great mentors in that group of guys. I was the idea and the energy, and my parents gave me a great work ethic. But boy, without some good good mentors to help support the whole project. And so that's how I got into the actual indoor soccer business. And we opened that first facility with only the idea of doing this one facility in Kalamazoo. It's a great soccer market, actually. It's a little city, but a great soccer market. And we knew we could make this. I was confident I could make this work, even though, as an entrepreneur, I made every mistake that you can possibly imagine, and then some. That's where having good partners comes in. But learned, and so we opened up one thinking that was it. But before a few many years had gone by, we had opened up quite a few others. We just had the right group, we had a kind of a tiger by the tail, and kind of started branching out and building. When you open a business, you do everything yourself, and on a new concept like this, you invent the wheel. But when you go to open up a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth one, you have to build systems in place and train people and manage people. And so it really changed, but we were able to do that successfully over a period of years.
Understood. You mentioned building out systems and managing people. How long did it take for you guys to build out your system? And obviously, along the way, you're going to tweak it. But how long would you say it took to get it to a point where you're like, all right, we don't need to really change anything drastically. We just need to tweak here and there.
Yeah. So going back to the first facility in Kalamazoo, I opened it and ran it, and I really didn't have any employees other than a couple of kids to work in a concession stand. So I literally the first year just did everything. Like I said, made a million mistakes, but worked really hard, and learned as I went. I mean, I still remember the first night we had a competitor there that we tried to buy out. They didn't want to be bought out, and so we opened up our facility. And the first night we just had so many teams compared to what they'd ever had at a registration deadline. And all my effort at that point had been like, I'm going to just shake every hand, sell this facility, get people on board, build leagues, etc. But I never thought about how I was going to schedule all these teams. And so like leaving that place at 1 a.m, driving home thinking, oh my gosh, I've got to division these teams, schedule them, collect the money, it was like, and I had, not prepared for that. So yeah, there was a lot to be done. And, again, no computers back then in the early 90s. We opened in 1990. And so I spent a year probably just figuring everything out. The second year refining it. And by the third year, I was looking for my next location. And to do that, you need other people. You need other people that can manage. And like I said, I had a great group of business partners, which helped kind of make the thing happen.
Nice. You said 1990, so you guys are running off papers.
Yes, sir. We had paper and pencil, and I would collect money from people, and I had like just a little ledger, and I'd say, okay, Kareem, he paid, $200 on his team today, so now he owes 200 more, or whatever it was, and just keep making note. And yeah, that's exactly right. Back in the dark ages, man.
Jeez, wow. How do you identify a promising market and location for developing new indoor soccer facilities? Earlier mentioned that you have 24 locations. Is it more? I know I got that based off of LinkedIn, but is there more locations?
No, we actually operate 20 right now. We sold a couple here with the real estate boom, but there's a whole podcast on site selection and development probably. But the first one, I lived there and I knew what the demand was there, and was very familiar. But when we started going to second and third and fourth markets, and now I was just in another city in Texas this week looking at locations, we've really refined it. And it's sort of everything blends, so I can list all these things that we go through. But a lot of it is just having so much experience, having built and operated the locations. And then you learn, like, where are the people coming from, what demographic, what type of soccer community really responds to indoor and whatnot. So at this point, after 30 plus years, I mean, it's, finding the right location in a market, the right demographics, the right access for that site, the right cost structure, any developmental issues, the whole development process, building from the ground up, which many of our facilities are. Most are. That's a whole nother project, and in this day and age, the interesting thing is the way real estate has gone the last 2 or 3 years, maybe in some respects a little bit driven by COVID and the impact of COVID, but the value of raw land in good locations, the construction cost, the time frame, all of that has been, the cost has risen and the headaches have increased. So, there's a definite a lot of experience needed to like do that correctly. And I mentioned a lot of ours are built from the ground up. We built a lot of them are ones we purchased from other people in many cases because they really didn't know what they were getting into, and we they were trying to get out, and we saw an opportunity to maybe do it a little bit better than they were. So we purchased their location.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's kind of like that sounds like a good deal, right? You find, a group that was trying to get in something that they didn't know that what they were getting themselves into, and then they want to get out, and you guys come in as the experts, knowing what needs to be done and getting the deal done and going in there and then killing it. So that's pretty interesting.
There's benefits both ways. So if it's a poorly selected site in a market that's not ready or mature enough, or isn't the access and where the competition is located, and all those things are not checking the right box or checking the wrong box, then even if they want to sell, we're not buying, because you're just swimming upstream. But if it is a location that checks more of those boxes, that is a positive location, and we own all the real estate. So like ours, that's another advantage, but also another cost factor. So we have a lot of real estate that's wrapped up in this, which is a real benefit to us as a business. But of course, for somebody to try to emulate what we do, it takes a lot more capital to go out and purchase all these buildings or even develop them.
Understood. I find that still pretty interesting in regards to, groups getting in, because, as it's very timely. A lot of capital is needed. And then to get yourself into it and then want to get out, it kind of seems like a lot of work for nothing.
Yeah, there's a lot of risk, but Kareem, like myself, and I'll speak with the business partners I have at Let's Play, the name of our company. We're passionate about the game. I'm an ex-player at every level. I've been in every part of the game. I feel like I've been extremely fortunate, like my whole career, whether it be like coaches I had as a kid, the high school I went to, and the coach and the players around me. I went to a college at George Mason University for a couple of years and turned pro. Great group of guys. The coach worked really hard to build that program, and a group of guys came in with me that could play. A couple of players from Canada, by the way, and we helped turn that program on. So I've been very fortunate, like the things that have worked out for me. But passion for the game leads you to try to do something in the sport or in the game, and so this indoor soccer business is an offshoot of that. So I'm pretty fortunate to be able to stay in soccer and make a good living at it. And then the other people connected with me in Let's Play, on the board with me at Let's Play, the leadership group there, we're all passionate about soccer. We've all worked in buildings, owned buildings, opened buildings, broke up fights, unstopped toilets, you name it, we've done it, because it's not all glamorous running a sports facility and dealing with the public. But if you love the sport, it's hard work, but it's not really work, because you kind of enjoy being around the sport.
Got it. What sets your indoor soccer facilities apart from those of your competitors?
Oh, geez, boy. How long you got? I already mentioned passion. I think we are the most passionate about it. That's why we're the only ones who really scaled this. We own the real estate. We've scaled it with real estate involved, which again is very unique. And we have a great team. I mean, I think that's the secret to any business success. I mentioned our leadership group. Love working with them. We have just a super group of people. And then we have regional managers that each manage a group of facilities, and they're awesome. And the bottom line for our business really is our managers in the buildings themselves. And we sink or swim with their performance. So I would say, and their work ethic and whatnot. I'd say what sets us apart is really that we have like passion from the owners on down. And a lot of these locations, are not really owned and operated by soccer people. There might be a group of people get together in their town, they build a building and they hire someone to manage it, and that manager goes at it. But we're soccer through and through, and and we have a joy for the game. It's in one of our kind of sayings, is that we love the beautiful game. We have a joy for the game, and we love the people involved with it. And we feel really good about being able to provide these facilities. And it's a business concept, but we feel really good about what we can do to local soccer communities.
Nice. I always appreciate that. It being a business, but a business owned by soccer lovers, people that
for
love
sure. Yeah.
You mentioned 1990. We're in 2023 now. We got technology. We have computers. Did you guys create your own system, or did you guys hire another company to go ahead and create these put these systems in place for you guys?
Okay, it's a great question. We have our own internal software that was developed for us, but with obviously us being involved in every step. And that software allows us to manage everything that goes on in the building. So if a customer comes in, they, we collect their payment, it gets recorded, and we produce the schedule. Their schedules are online. They get a game reminder email 48 hours before each game to say, "Hey, Kareem, your game is on field 2 at your local location at 7 o'clock or whatever." It does all that. It allows us to have complete and really detailed accounting of what's going on in the building. And we also have right now an app that is like in testing. So before too long, we're going to have that app available. And we think we're going to be able to offer a whole nother range of access for our customers and services because of that. So we're excited about getting that on board too.
Nice. Please let me know. I'd love to check it out.
Yeah,
Look through it.
for sure.
How do you maintain a high level of employee morale and productivity at your facilities?
Well, I already touched on this on one part, and that is we've got a great team, and we do have like a really culture of work ethic in our buildings, but we have a great team of people who love the sport, and so we have, like I said, the leadership group is all soccer people, the regional managers, and then the actual people in the facility, like I said, are what really makes the business go. That's the people that are making sure when someone shows up for their game, or a team or an individual, that that the place is presentable, that the game is scheduled and refs are there and the bathrooms are clean, and just that they're playing a team they should be playing against. So the leagues have good parity, and so there's a lot involved in that. And so yeah, the morale is making people feel valued. And like I said, we definitely take a team approach to things, and we've done a lot in the last few years to try to really make sure that we're forward thinking when it comes to employee things, including benefits, pay, work-life balance is another thing in the indoor soccer world. It's some of them are more seasonal than others, but the standard would be, geez, I'm working 80 hours a week for months straight because it's that peak season. And we've done we've done a lot to try to really alleviate the issue of burnout, and we're in the middle of a record year. So we think things are going great. We bounced out of COVID well, and we're having a record year, so it's good.
Nice. How do you ensure that your indoor soccer facilities are safe and meet all relevant regulations and standards?
Well, again, this is one of the good things about having a company like us and so much experience is we have certain standards that all of our facilities need to meet, and our regional managers are in our buildings, sort of checking up on those standards at all times. And we're going through a process now where we're refreshing buildings. I can, if anyone in Kalamazoo or Lansing watches this podcast, they'll know that we just replaced parking lots for $250,000 each or whatever it was at each of those 2 locations. Overdue, but we're doing what we can to really upgrade these facilities. I tell you, we're really on top of replacement of turf. We really look at our fields as being a key element of the product, and as a player, you walk up to an outdoor field and you see perfectly groomed pitch, lines perfect. You're like, man, I really want to play. And the same thing is true with indoor. If you show up and you see great, beautiful turf and it's soft and comfortable and looks great, groomed, we groom it all the time, versus a ratty old turf, you're like, so and it's a safety issue too. So we're really on top of that stuff, and you're just going to maintain our attention going forward.
Nice. You mentioned was it $250,000 for fixing?
We did 2 parking lots. I just mentioned in Michigan because they're in my mind, but we placed several parking lots this year, and they were anywhere from $200,000 to $300,000 each to replace.
So when you mentioned that, what came to my mind was wow, why fixing the parking lot though?
Well, in Michigan, you get really tough winters, and that part they were both overdue actually. And so the winters, I mean, Toronto's probably the same, I don't know, but if you don't stay on top of that, and they were bad, but yeah, it is a capital intensive business to do what we do, because maybe that's really what your question is. The buildings, we have 850,000 square feet approximately of space under roof in our buildings, and it's what's the current value of that? It's $100, $125, $150 a foot probably. So it's $100 million. I mean, it's a huge amount of real estate, and but part of our responsibility for our customers and staff too, and really us as investors, is we need to maintain the value for safety reasons, for presentation, and just for the quality and value of the real estate. You need to maintain it. So periodically we're fixing, recoding a roof or redoing a parking lot. But the annual thing that we really are on top of, like I said, is turf, because that is really a directly product related.
Understood. Fun fact, it was actually pretty pretty funny and interesting to me when I was at the United Soccer Coaches event. I seen turf vendors,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't even think about it, and I laughed at myself about lights. I was like, I forgot, like, you need a field that needs turf, so there's vendor providers for that. And I laughed about it to myself because I'm like, I didn't even think about it, right? There's so many
Right.
pieces to the puzzle, but it was
Yeah,
just
the
fun.
good thing is, if you look at it this way, is that an indoor soccer facility is, $125,000 or $150,000 worth of turf for one field, because it's a hockey rink, or a little bit. Most of them are smaller than a hockey rink, but that's the size to buy the turf. But you have to ship it, install it, and there's a lot more to it. But like a high school football or a college football or outdoor turf field, obviously is however many, 8 of those fields or whatever. So it's obviously much more, but yeah.
Yeah. Just a few more before we dive into the fun
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah.
How do you balance the demands of running multiple indoor soccer facilities and maintaining a healthy work-life balance for yourself?
Yeah, so I went through a period where I had not good balance back when I opened this business, and like I said, you just that entrepreneurial, you get on the hamster wheel and you just keep running as hard as you can every day, and you fall into bed and you wake up the next morning, you're back on the wheel, and at some point though, you figure it out and you got to work smarter. Got a family, raised 2 great kids, and many years ago now, 12, 13 years ago, I merged the Soccer Zone group that I started those businesses into the Let's Play group, and I, became an owner in Let's Play. I'm on the board for Let's Play, and my role became more refined, which is very helpful. So at Let's Play, we have a leadership group of 4 or 5 people. Let's call it a board, but we all have different. We wear a lot of hats. We all and so we all are involved in strategy and company strategy and whatnot. But like my primary roles now is, and I work from home, would be finance and expansion, and like I said, strategy. Any transactions come as something I deal with. So it's been everybody in our company works really hard, but I think we all have been able to carve out like a better balance as we've grown, because of like the strength of our total team. And like I said, I mentioned regional managers and our managers. They're kind of the real stars, because like I said, our business, forget about the financing and building buildings and stuff that maybe is partly my focus. The real nuts and bolts and core part of our business is those people that are in our daily operations, making sure it goes well, and people coming into play and having a good time and signing up again, and continue to play and play and play. So that's what it's about.
Absolutely. I'll ask you this last question because Zoom's trying to kick us out right now.
Oh.
What advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs interested in entering into the soccer world of business?
Okay. So in the indoor soccer world, my first piece of advice is be careful, because we've purchased and turned down many offers to purchase existing operators who got into a situation where it wasn't that positive for them. So they either got wrong location or didn't manage it well, underestimated how much work there was or risk. There's a learning curve. I was fortunate when I started to have great partners and get through it, but a lot of people don't. So the first thing is be careful. But there are more opportunities now in soccer, not just indoor soccer. My gosh, coaching, running clubs, starting clubs, training players, helping players get opportunities, like say agent work or what have you. The system for soccer in the U.S. is in a like rapid growth. It has been for the last 5-6 years at least. So yeah, I mean, I think there's lots of opportunities where somebody could maybe apply their passion and necessary. They have to have the necessary skill set and work ethic, of course, in anything, and same for soccer. So
yeah, that's great advice. Diving into the fun questions.
Uh-oh.
They're like speed questions, so you gotta answer them like fast.
Okay.
Who's your favorite U.S. soccer team?
U.S. soccer team. Boy, that's a good question.
MLS.
MLS. I'm going to say I live in Sarasota now. I'm going to say non-MLS. I want to say Tampa Bay Rowdies. I go to a few of their games, and one of the first guys I met was on my team when I was turned pro when I was 20 years old. Was Derek Smethurst, who was really all-time leading scorer for great guy, all-time leading scorer for Rowdies in back in the old NASL days, and they're close. So like I go several times a year to go watch them play. So
Yeah, I've been there once. It's a really nice stadium. Yeah.
yeah, cool. It's a great venue.
Who's your favorite European soccer team?
I've followed Real Madrid for 30 years.
Wow.
Since before I could access their games, I just started following them. I don't know why. It could have been anybody. And then once you start following a team and you become a supporter, like I don't, it's going to sound bad for MLS because I'm not anti-MLS at all, but I watch Real Madrid games. Like if they're on, I'm watching it. And I work my schedule, whatever I have to do to watch him play. And so like, once you get connected to a team, all the players and whatever. So it's Real Madrid.
I have a question here. It says who's your favorite soccer player? But I'm gonna add on to this one too. Messi or Ronaldo?
So yeah, Messi's I think maybe the greatest player ever, and Ronaldo is not quite the same. But Ronaldo is a player who I think deserves so much respect and credit for his drive, his work ethic, his records for sure. I mean, he's right behind Messi in my opinion, and and he look at he's been so successful with multiple teams at Man U, then to Real Madrid where he set records, and even Juventus when he first went there. He had already dropped when he left Real Madrid. His game was clear, and in Madrid they are brutal, man. Like they don't like Florentino Perez. If you're gone as soon as he sees it. There's not a lot of loyalty. It's like we're going to the next guy. So, but yeah, I think Messi's the best. And your question was who's my favorite player, and those two guys. My favorite player right now to watch in a lot of ways is Vinicius Jr. Vinicius, you know who he is?
No.
Oh, he's the winger for Real Madrid. Starts for Brazil. You need to watch him. He's a young kid. He is crushing it. He's one of the top players in the world. He's like, no fear, Kareem, no fear. He will 3 times in a row dribble till he loses it, and everybody yells at him. But the 4th time, he beats everybody and scores. I mean, he wins a game. He's a difference maker.
Is the guy that plays on left wing? Is he black?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, he's super. I know him through FIFA. I like when I use him. I use him. He's fast.
Watch him in real life. Go check his highlights out. He's something else. So yeah.
Last two. What's your favorite food to eat?
Well, I like all food and I like wine. And that's why, despite the fact that I work out constantly, I probably still could lose a few pounds. The seafood, a lot. And I know you want me to say one, but I like seafood a lot. I just went to a local place here the other night, really good. And then I like Italian food a lot. And my daughter's getting married in Italy this summer. And every time I've been to Italy, I've been like, man, the authentic Italian food is like just another level. So I'll go with that one.
Nice. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
And the last one, who's your favorite artist musically?
This is an interesting question for me because I'm the guy, like I've listened to your podcast before. I ride or I go for a long walk in the morning, part of my exercise program. I listen to podcasts. When I'm driving, I listen to talk radio or a podcast. But I grew up in the 70s, so classic rock. You ever now say classic rock, Foreigner and Rolling Stones and those kind of bands. Listen to them all the time when I was in high school and college. And then now I like to cook. And when I cook, I listen to Ludovico Einaudi some and also some classic rock when I'm cooking. So, yeah, not one, but I'm not a huge music guy, but it's a good question.
Which podcast did you watch of art?
I recently saw the one where you interviewed the Hartford owner. Is that what you mean? Yours, yeah. And then I saw another couple where you interviewed players, and I enjoyed it. I really enjoy. Like I said, I like to help players get to the next level. That's why I started a team in Kalamazoo in AMPSL. Really enjoyed it. My wife and I did that as kind of a hobby and kind of a give back thing. I like the idea of NISA, They need to stabilize a little. I would actually potentially consider getting involved in a team or doing a team there. It's just, I really like seeing players get opportunities and reach their dream, like becoming a pro. And I've been able to, I lived it. My son is now doing it. It's great for him. It's a great, there's lifelong benefits and lessons to kind of going through that journey and making it. So I like to help people with it.
Yeah, soccer is a great vehicle. I love
Yeah.
soccer. Well, well, Mike, before we go, I want to thank you for taking the time for joining us on the One Soccer Nation podcast.
Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it. Anytime.